This is the Week in Sustainability from Sustain Life. It's where our team of sustainability experts and practitioners share commentary to keep you up to date on developing stories and news.
Hi, I'm Nick Lusantag. I'm a senior manager here on our sustainability team. This summer on our podcast, we're going to be mixing up our guests in an effort to get a different variety of viewpoints and questions on the show. So today I'm joined by Jacob Pastrovich, our head of content strategy. Jacob, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Nick. Excited to talk with you on a couple stories today.
Yeah, longtime listener, first time caller, right?
Actually, this is, I think, my second time.
Season pro.
Yeah.
Well, today we've got two stories for you. One about a case against the state of Montana for not providing a clean and healthful environment, and another about the benefits that come with a clean and healthful environment, specifically clean air. So if you're a longtime listener, you'll know that we've been following the landmark civil case in Montana of Held versus the state of Montana. In this case, 16 young Montanans are alleging that the state's pro-fossil fuel policies have violated their constitutional rights.
So, Nick, I think probably about a month ago on the podcast, we talked about sort of cases against fossil fuel companies for violating consumer protection laws. But is this similar? Is it different? How's this different in Montana versus, sort of these broader cases? What's going on?
Yeah, this is a little bit different because now we have citizens that are actually bringing a case against the state, not the companies themselves. And the basis of the case is that the Montana state constitution has a provision in it that the state and each person, quote, shall maintain and improve a clean and healthful environment in Montana for present and future generations. And if you have a good ear, that'll sound a lot like just the pure definition of sustainability. So specifically, this lawsuit is targeting the Montana Environmental Policy Act. This act has language in it that prevents environmental reviews from considering regional, national, or global environmental impacts. Since by definition, global warming is a crisis occurring everywhere, in effect, the law is excluding it from being considered in environmental reviews.
But sort of on an intuitive level, kind of seems like there's a strong argument, with the Constitution saying the state has to literally maintain a clean and healthy environment.
Yeah.
So where's the legal argument?
Yeah. No, totally. The state is basically, their defense is that climate change is a global problem. Therefore, Montana can't be held responsible for it. Meanwhile, the plaintiffs have been calling, expert witnesses to testify that Montana's contribution to climate change is substantial and measurable. And they're arguing that, yeah, climate change is a global problem, but it's also a local problem. So the case ended unexpectedly early last week. The state only presented 1 day's worth of defense. Meanwhile, the plaintiffs had 5 days of testimony. So not sure what that really means for the defense that the state is trying to mount, but we will see.
So I guess my next question would be what are the plaintiffs asking for? We sort of know we've been hearing from them, or it's been cut short. When will there be a ruling, and what can we expect? Kind of.
Yeah, I think in an ideal world, the plaintiffs would want the court to define what a safe and healthful environment is. And they would want them to define it as one where this concentration of carbon dioxide in the air is below 350 parts per million. So this number, 350 parts per million, is, a commonly held concentration of carbon dioxide below which we can safely limit global warming. Right now, the world is at about 415 or 425. So we passed that mark long ago. But if a standard like that were implemented, then that would flow through all of the downstream policies that the state might implement.
Okay, so let's hypothetically posit that the plaintiffs win the case. What can we expect from a fossil fuel standpoint? What the knock-on effects for Montana or other states?
A ruling by the judge stating a standard of something like 350 parts per million would be unprecedented, and that's not really expected by anybody. So most likely, if the judge rules in favor of the plaintiffs, the judge's ruling is only going to state that their constitutional rights were violated, but not dictate how the state has to remediate that. It would then be up to the Republican-led legislature to decide how to fix it. So although there wouldn't be any direct requirements on the state, it would still add pressure to their legislature, and maybe more importantly, add pressure to legislatures around the country now that we've had a successful such case for them to respect these types of constitutional provisions. So right now we wait while the judge reviews the case. She's expected to make a ruling in the next couple of weeks, so we'll keep you updated. And on that note of providing a healthy environment, transitioning to our next story, we've alluded many times on the show before to the benefits that renewable energy and electrification have on reducing air pollution. And this past month, the American Lung Association released a report called Driving to Clean Air. In this report, they modeled some of those positive benefits, especially as it relates to electric vehicles.
Okay, so I remember seeing some figures that air pollution leads to something like a few 100,000 deaths per year that can be attributed. So realistically, how many of those come from pollution from vehicles? And then I guess to counter that a little bit and just provide some context, I think like the CDC says something like 480,000 deaths come per year from smoking. So I guess they're kind of on the same playing field, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it depends what modeling you look at. But the number of air pollution linked deaths is in the US is somewhere between 60 and 300,000 per year. So no matter what number you look at, it's large. And, air pollution is linked to these deaths because it's such a significant driver of things like lung disease and heart disease and other cardiovascular and respiratory illnesses like asthma and emphysema. And by far, the biggest cause of this health impacting air pollution is transportation, much more than its share of the pollution itself. And that's partially because of how commonplace cars are in our lives.
Sure. So I imagine it doesn't really matter if you live in an area that's close to the highway or, what if you're sitting in a lot of traffic every day, long commute or highly traffic-y commute. How do they model this?
Yeah, so their scenario included a few things: 100% electric passenger vehicles by 2035, 100% electric trucks by 2040, and renewable energy to power all of those things. It's definitely an aggressive scenario, but it's a scenario that's also consistent with our national goals. So it's sort of like if we carry out our national goals, then this is something we'll achieve. So but the ambition in it really speaks more to how much we really have to do in the next 15 or 20 years when it comes to electrification.
So, okay, then the $1 million question is like, how much cleaner will the air be if we do meet those goals? Like, what can we
Yeah,
expect?
I think the short answer would be like 60 to 90% cleaner. They found that most pollutants would fall by that amount. And when it comes to translating that into the health benefits, they found that over the 30-year period from 2020 to 2050, we would avoid about 100,000 premature deaths, and that we would save about 13.5 million sick days, which is a crazy number. When you translate those sick days and the cost of healthcare, for all of the air pollution caused illnesses into a dollar value, you get about $1.2 trillion worth of savings, like $40 billion a year.
Okay, so potential to up our GDP in a lot of ways. So, like, obviously that seems like reason enough to justify
Yeah.
the transition, right?
Yeah, and that's why it's always important, when we're talking about climate solution, to zoom out for a second and ask, what are all of the co-benefits that might come with the things that we're trying to implement? Because often these solutions have holistic benefits. So even, that goes beyond just a national level, at an organizational level, or even within your personal life. A lot of the things that you can implement are going to have health, comfort, convenience benefits, cost benefits, and that's why it's so important to think about. I think this air pollution report really illustrates that front and center. So
Yeah, it's not just about the surface level stuff. It's like
yeah,
going a level or two or three deeper and understanding the positives.
yeah. I mean, we can save all of these lives and this money in addition to all of the climate benefits, all of the money we're going to save with switching to renewable energy. it starts to really make it a no-brainer. So that wraps up the week in sustainability. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Sustain Life is a sustainability management SaaS platform with deep carbon expertise that helps future-proof small and medium-sized enterprises by taking climate action. Go to sustain.life to learn more. Thanks for listening and watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel or your favorite podcast platform. We'll see you next week.